23rd of September. It's Tuesday morning. Have you ever thought that secular education is by and large antichrist? Secular education is by and large, for the most part, is against Christ. We're told in 1 Corinthians 3:19, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. It is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Education is defined as the transmission of knowledge and skills and development of character traits. Occurring within a structural, institutional environment. Well, I would highly recommend those who are endorsing higher education, secular education, to look up the following definitions. Look up the definition of psychology. Look up the definition of sociology. Look up the definition of physics. Look up the definition of biology. Look up the definition of philosophy. Look up the definition of anthropology. It's all against the Bible. It's all against Christ. It's antichrist. And yet, these denominations require that a person go get an undergraduate degree at a minimum to be ordained in the ministry. You have to have a good dosage of antichrist before you can speak to us. As many of you know, I was involved in secular education, University of Kansas, and I've rejected it wholeheartedly today. 90% of the stuff that I learned at the University of Kansas was antichrist, including the classes I took in psychology, abnormal psychology, sociology, cultural anthropology, transpersonal psychology, biology. It was all lies. Even the classes in history were lies. What's the old saying? The historians are the ones that live to tell about it. The other ones are dead. 75% of history is bogus. Think of all the lies we've been told. You say, well, you're sure negative this morning. Well, yes, I am. I want to wake people up to the fact that secular education is antichrist. I've got a friend who says Thomas Jefferson was the greatest president we ever had. How can you say that when Thomas Jefferson rejected the Bible? He rejected the virgin birth. He rejected the miracles of Christ. This guy was also, yesterday bragging about Donald Trump, what a great president he is. Well, I could never do that. He says, I believe God ordained Trump to put Trump into office. Well, I said, I believe God ordains devils. Put devils into office. Says, do not speak evil of the rule of your people, but the point is that when a person is doing things that are antithetical to God himself, we're just take a stand against it, just like the prophets did. I do not support Zionism. Trump said I'm 1,000% behind Israel. We've given billions of dollars to the government of Israel, the state of Israel. who absolutely hates Jesus Christ and denies Jesus Christ as the Messiah, and so on. Well, the wisdom of this world is foolishness to God. God hates secular education. You know, he says, for other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Jesus Christ. People are standing on the wrong foundation of secular education today. You know? Again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. Therefore let no man glory in men. You know, there's a lot of glorying going on in Masters of Divinity degrees and Master's degrees and PhD pile higher and deeper degrees. 2 Corinthians 1:11. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, he tells us that we are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. There's a lot of people that want to put up on a pedestal all these people that are involved in higher education. And higher education is Antichrist. Science, so-called, talked about evolution and Darwin. We talked about the exaltation of man in psychology. We've talked about Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud and Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow and B.F. Skinner. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? Yes, he has. These people that are promoting heliocentrism, and that the earth is going through space at 66,000 miles an hour. You know, I used to have a friend of mine when I was involved in heliocentrism. He called me up and he goes, Larry, are you dizzy yet? Are you dizzy yet? For after that, in the wisdom of the world, God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. The foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. Not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, and the base things of the world and the things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. Let him that glory in the Lord, not in all this secular garbage. Anyway, that's kind of what's on my mind this morning. You know, I get sick and tired of all these people exalting these people with all these secular education. And by the way, the seminaries, I call them cemeteries, aren't any better. If you want to become a dead man, go to a cemetery, right? That's what cemeteries are for, is to bury the dead. Well, I'll get off my rant, but You know, I've grown to hate secular education for what it stands for. May the good Lord be with you today in a special way is my prayer. God bless.